DeepSeek. Should we all be panicking and keep selling NVIDIA and everybody related to NVIDIA? Or is this an amazing time, a joyous time? We're going to get cheap reasoning, and therefore the downstream benefits are getting closer?
Oh my gosh, Pat. Good God, was this week a disaster for the media, plaudits, pundits, lauding this company. I mean, when did we begin to just take China at its word for everything that it does? But like I said, let me try to be well-rounded here. Before I sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, let me just come out and say that there was some value in what happened this week. The number one thing that I saw was the idea of finding ways to accelerate scaling laws, especially as it relates to inference, making inference less expensive for LLMs to be able to deliver tokens, is something everybody wants and needs. It's too much cost of training. This CapEx expense is not making sense for investors because you're looking at the inputs and the outputs, and to spend 80 billion to generate 13 billion is going to cause a sell-off. Having said that, we are so early in adoption of AI. We are so early. Like, people are like, we're far along. We're not far along. We're not even, the game hasn't started yet. Companies are still mostly in POCs. They're using this in small vacuums. They're using small numbers of tokens. Inference is the game. 20 times bigger opportunity, maybe even larger than 20 times than training. And by the way, this infrastructure that everyone suddenly thought we wouldn't need anymore, you still need it to do all this inference. And here's the difference is when you're running agentic AI for an enterprise with 30,000 people that's going to have 3 million agents working concurrently across 20 different systems, you're going to have enterprises creating trillions of tokens per day. So even if those tokens are, fractions of pennies or pennies, we're going to need to go faster with more powerful infrastructure that scales better, that is able to handle the concurrent requests. And therefore, the idea that we need to slow down is wrong. We saw Satya, people like you, me, all talking about Jevons paradox. The thing is if we can get more efficient in our training and more efficient in our model development and more efficient in inferencing, we will actually see the adoption of AI accelerate. The way I look at it, Pat, is really simple. Okay? Very, very simple. More efficient models means better quality models. It means more innovation, better quality models, and better quality models means faster adoption. Faster adoption means massive scale of AI, which means revenue. And the big thing with AI is it's been too concentrated so far. Only a few companies are really able to meaningfully show growth, revenue, and profits because of AI. So as we scale inference, bring it out to the software companies, service providers, and ultimately to the industries, Pat, we get actual economic efficiencies, growth, and profits that go into retail, goes into pharmaceuticals, goes into, transportation industries, goes into manufacturing. That's where we want to get to. So that was the good part. Everybody agrees we want that. The bad part is they had like $1 billion of chips, and they told us it was $6 million. This was literally, we took $1 trillion out of the economy. Okay, $1 trillion+ out of the economy. It was the best short in history, better than the housing shorts, the big short. It was better than anything Hindenburg did in its entire existence in one trade. Now, the only question that I'm going to leave you with here, Pat, because we could talk about this one all day, is that I am really hoping that somebody actually follows the money here. What happened here? Because remember, DeepSeek was like a hedge fund that actually put this thing together. So whether this is true or not, if there's a conspiracy or not, like, imagine actually building this product, writing that paper, and then putting a short right before you actually put this out, and then creating this massive economic boon. Not saying it's true. I'm just saying that, like, a lot of things that people thought were crazy and movie-like over the last few years have turned out to be kind of true. So call me crazy. I'll take the role. But Pat, this was mostly BS with a little sprinkling of enthusiasm about the future of accelerating AI and scaling laws.
So Dan, that was a great breakdown. You hit pretty much everything. Let me try to just fill in the gaps. Maybe good. So there's 3 things you have to do when it comes to AI. There's pre-training, there's training, and then there's inference. And what you have is innovations at every step of the game. And we've seen this with Llama. We've seen this with OpenAI. We have seen this with Gemini, right? We have seen the API cost and access plummet over time. And I think the thing that made this special and pronounced was two things. First of all, it was right on the heels of a $500 billion Stargate announcement for AI infrastructure. And secondly, it came out of China. Okay. And I would say there's probably a third thing is that typically these cost reductions and these innovations that were coming out of China might be, multiple months, but reasoning is relatively new. It wasn't right on top of the reasoning models from the other companies. It was behind, but it just wasn't as behind. So that got everybody excited about this. But there were at least 10 unique innovations across that workflow that DeepSeek implemented that others didn't. They found ways to train and infer on a smaller data set. They found ways to get closer to the metal when it came to some of these processes. So it did make a lot of sense. Now, technically, right, that 6 whatever million dollars took a GPU cost per hour across tokens across one area of this. And I don't know if these folks, wantonly did this or not. I don't think it matters. But I thought that the impact was good and the conversation was good. I don't hold any of these stocks, so I'm not crying in my cereal here. But I did think that net this is good, right? The only way the train keeps going is if the downstream impacts are realized by consumers, businesses, and governments. And it's up to companies like Microsoft, SAP, ServiceNow, Adobe, right? The entire app stacks to make that happen. Obviously, Microsoft, Google Cloud, folks like that. So is it panic or joy? Yeah, there was panic. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of joy, but I think there should be. I think this is a good thing and it shows innovation. The one thing that gets lost in this as well, in addition to the downstream impacts, I think is that literally we have so far to go. Right? You said we're not even on the field yet. Until we get to AGI and all the different types of models, text, reasoning, voice, audio, those put together, and we have the infrastructure on the edge to take full advantage of that, then we can start having those serious conversations. Final note, one of the dark horses here are the end user compute folks, okay? And that's the PCs and it's the smartphone and obviously IoT and cars. But if you look at the Intels, the Qualcomms, the AMDs, the Dells, the HPs, the Lenovos, and the Apples, and the Samsungs, at some point, if you can run what used to be a teeny tiny little model, but get the impact from what used to be a gigantic model, I mean, there are already people running DeepSeek R1 I've seen on AMD, Qualcomm, and Intel Silicon. And Microsoft made an announcement, I think yesterday or the day before, that they were going to integrate DeepSeek into their developer platform for Windows PCs and Copilot Plus PCs. So I'm excited. It's a time of joy, but I didn't lose $10 million.
Let me just throw one more quick thing out there, Pat. You and I have long talked about the scaling laws with things like small language models, with the shift from NVIDIA chips for everything to accelerators that have actually been for a long time creating more efficiency for high volume inference or other use cases. We've seen training move from NVIDIA to TPUs. We've seen specialized training chips coming out of the likes of AWS and, the Marvells and Broadcom's partnering. My point here is that like some of this is funny because it wasn't novel. I mean, I guess the idea of bringing the cost of compute down should always be the goal. I mean, it's always been the goal. It's always been how the evolution, whether it was Moore's or now what we think is accelerated beyond Moore's law, Pat, this is all here. And one last thing is like, look, there is a lot of reasons for China to try to slow down the US. Geopolitical and macroeconomic things are real, and there is a benefit there. And I know, like I said, it can be a little out there, but AI will be the decider of the future of the world's economy. So the fact that we have the newest chips, we have the access to the equipment, and the most innovative companies in the world is an advantage to us.